Wapow! Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. We are back, and we are better than ever. Fortunately, we were teetering on the edge of, ooh, I don't know where this is going with Order of the Phoenix, but I'm telling you right now, Half-Blood Prince saves the series. It builds and gets better and better throughout the book. From the cave scene to the end, this may be some of the best writing Rowling has ever offered, and I'm here to break down the bad, the good, and the ugly, so sit down, relax, and enjoy the review.
No.
How is everyone so chill when it's very well known at this point, based on the Ministry situation, that Voldemort's out on the loose, but teens just gonna be teens back at school? Are we crazy? Are we crazy? This is absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason that we should not be taking this more seriously, and I understand kids have to go to school every day when the world is at war, but this is literally ground zero for the problems. Hogwarts is the eye of the storm. Harry is literally the target. Why are we able to even function in this manner? Maybe take Harry out? No, in fact, they want to put Harry in. So, I don't know. Also, we know time is of the essence. So why does Dumbledore spread out his lessons so long over time? I mean, throughout the entire school year, it takes so long for Harry to get all this information. And I get it. 6-hour lectures don't work. You need to have a little bit of exposure, go back, meditate about it, and then get to the next point. Why we need to go a whole school year though? I don't know, there were only so many pensive moments. I don't think we needed to do it that prolonged. Also, while it's better, the overhearing is not gone. Snape and Draco in the bathroom, we overhear that. Snape and Dumbledore arguing with each other about being used, we hear that. Overhearing again. This is nitpicky, and it has to be because this really was a good book. But how does Sirius inherit anything? He was literally, not just figuratively, literally burned out of his family tree. You'd think he'd be entitled to nothing. I love the introduction of the Horcruxes. I love Harry's exposure to them throughout the pensive moments. But why does Dumbledore, who knows how much is at stake, how much is on the line, why does he not go into more detail with Harry about what Horcruxes are and how to destroy them? Like, dude, we are getting to the final moments here. You know that. Whether you're gonna live or die in this book, that's besides the point, although he clearly knows that his own end is coming, which makes it even more urgent. Lay your cards on the table. Harry's your guy. If he's your knight in shining armor for the situation, say, hey dude, here's the info I've got. Throw it down on the table. Pull it up like one of those Charlie charts from Sunny. It needs to be discussed, all aired out in the open here, because if you don't do that, Harry is not the most prepared he could be. Yes, you gave him some access. You give him some preparation. Say straight out, I think it's a locket, I think it's this thing, I think it's this object. Just how do I do it? Do I have to stab it? Do I have to smash it with a hammer? What do I do to break them? How do I destroy them? Hey, Voldemort catches on. Is that gonna be a problem? Do we have to go more into detail on how to avoid that? It's not being done in a timely manner. It's not being done in a sufficient amount of information. It's not being done with the wisdom that we know Dumbledore to have, and we know the end is coming. And guess what? He could have set Harry up for true success, but he died and left a lot on the table. And speaking of Dumbledore's failures, why does he not get more involved with Draco? Everyone needed to put the kibosh on Draco. We all know that he's involved in a plan to kill Dumbledore. Now, if Dumbledore wanted to see that out and see where the cards fall, that's on Dumbledore. But when it comes to getting other people poisoned or killed or petrified or whatever the heck with the Katie Bell necklace and Draco with the mead and the poisoning of Ron, I mean, come on, guys. There are other casualties on the sidelines. It's time to step in. This next section is brought to you by the good stuff. We start with the Wizarding World getting involved with the real world. Finally, the scene with the Prime Minister. I mean, I've always thought about this. Like, these things that are going on, it's not really just constrained to Hogwarts. Voldemort's out in the open, he's out throughout the world. Even if you say the land of the giants or the land of the werewolves or wherever these people are, like, these creatures are existing in our world, planet Earth, in this alternate universe, of course, and they do need to mingle at some point. It opens up the mind to this awesome can of worms of, you know, are things being explained away as natural disasters? Do the Russians know? Do the Americans know? You know, do the Egyptians know? Does the rest of the world know what's going on? Do they have a similar interconnected network of dealing with the Wizarding World? And it'd be very interesting to see, like, at what point do militaries get involved, or Secret Service, or, you know, special operatives of any kind? How would they get involved in this theoretical plot where Voldemort's taking over as not just a magical dictator, but literally could be controlling the entire world. We also raise the magical stakes with something called the unbreakable vow. This was an interesting concept that was introduced, and we see it with Draco and Snape, and Draco's mother, Snape agreeing that he will do everything in his power to take care of Draco, or at least see him through this situation that Voldemort's put him in. It really reminded me of the Oath Rod and Wheel of Time. Again, I've said in the past, I don't know if Rowling ever read such a ridiculously long fantasy epic, but the similarities are uncanny, so it is what it is, guys. So beyond just the mechanics of this unbreakable vow, it's a very interesting scene. Bellatrix Lestrange is obviously very jealous of Snape and his standing, and in this case, it's also ironic because she's taking orders essentially from a half-blood. Slughorn also comes into the picture as the new potions master, which bumps Snape into the dark arts spot. But focusing in on Slughorn, I think he's a very well-written character. Your introductory scene is a little bit comical. There is moments of comic relief with Slughorn. He's so obsessed as a character with fame and spectacle, and he's a sellout. He's a sellout for it. The reason I think he's well written is because from Dumbledore's perspective, you may not be putting the best actor into the classroom, but you're putting a very predictable actor into the classroom. Does this backfire? A little bit in some cases, we'll get to that. But in general, I think he was a good addition to add a new dynamic. When it comes to Dumbledore, I think it's great to finally see him as the reader's perspective taking this seriously. Now, I'm not gonna say that in the past he wasn't taking it seriously all these years. The build-up, Voldemort returning, you know, the writing was on the wall, what have you. But what I will say is he's finally taking an active role in front of the reader for the first time. The way he does it, props to Rowling as a reader. There has been a lot of info dumping throughout this series, and she knows she's gonna do it. She knows she's gonna do it, so at least she's coming up with a fun way to say, hey, if I'm gonna introduce backstory, let me find a way to not just have Dumbledore tell it, let's see a way to show it. It's undeniable that the memories are all awesome, very enjoyable, definitely fuel world builder lovers like me with the information I've been dying to have for a very, very big part of the series. Is it enough? Did I want more? Of course you always want more. At least this time there are fewer instances of the classic Harry overhearing, right place, right time. You know I hate that, but if you take the example of the Vanishing Cabinet early on, like at least Harry was going a little bit of a detective mode. There are places throughout the story this time where he's kind of becoming his own little spy and throwing on the invisibility cloak. Like he's actually making an effort to be in the right place at the right time. And we see that this also backfires at one point because there is the moment, the chapter where Draco catches Harry in the invisibility cloak, and it's a very well-written moment because he knows it, so he's knowing what to say, what not to say, baiting Harry, but also leading on his friends, and I think it was extremely well done. Ron and his experience here with self-confidence and state of mind versus placebo effect, all of that when it comes to the Felix potion, he shows that if you believe in yourself and you have self-confidence, that you can accomplish anything. Now, I don't like Quidditch, but this is the good section, so we're not going to talk about how much I don't like Quidditch. I've mentioned it in 5 previous videos. I'm not going to mention it again, but here I am mentioning it again. There are pros and cons to Draco's plans with the mead and the necklace and how they backfire, but in and of themselves, I'll focus on the pros right now. I think it shows how fallible he is. He's a young kid. He's trying to put things together. He's desperate. It really, really shows how much difficulty he's having in these moments, and he's scrambling at anything to get things done. There's actually an incredible dynamic here in the mentor-mentee relationship. With Draco, you have Voldemort and Draco, and then Harry is Harry and Dumbledore. And it goes to show your different level of involvement has a direct output on the results, on the success. Voldemort's completely hands-off. His guidance is violence and threats, and that's not going to work. It shoves Draco into this downward spiral. Fear is not the best motivation in almost any scenario. Now, there's a difference between fear and having your back up against the wall, needing to get a fire lit under your butt. Those are different things. Voldemort is fear-based. On the flip side, you have Harry and Dumbledore. Now, Dumbledore clearly taking a more hands-on approach, showing rather than telling, and I think a lot of people need to learn by seeing and doing. And that's what's helping Harry learn and grow and develop into somebody who's understanding the situation. He's putting the pieces together, but he does have a little bit of luck. Which brings us to the Felix Felicus, where I will say this was a very large opportunity for a massive amount of plot armor to take place, which is why I think I see Rowling truly improving, not only through the course of the series, but through the course of this book. She's learned from the mistakes of the past. We have a magical potion, right? It grants you luck, and it's used in such a great way because it just gives you the edge. It doesn't make lucky things happen. It puts you in the right place at the right time. It makes you think of maybe the right way to emote something, maybe not the exact words, but the right timing. These little mindset shifts like, I think I'm gonna walk down this hallway. I think I'm gonna head down to Hagrid's hut. I mean, look at the whole situation with Slughorn and Hagrid. I think it'd be so easy to be like, oh, well, you take this potion, you can do just about anything. You can win the lottery, you can find a Horcrux immediately if you need to. No, it's a more subtle potion. I think that not overpowering it is something I respected about its creation. In the last book review, I pointed out that I still want to understand the why of blood purity. Why is it so important that it's igniting this magical war? There are two sides, people who very much care about bloodlines versus people who are okay with mixing. And while I don't think we still have the real answer to that, although there is a little bit of actually pointing to the contrary, that maybe the kind of like inbreeding feel of these purebloods is actually weeding out competent wizards. So maybe you shouldn't want this. That aside, I think Voldemort here may not actually care. That's not what's important to him. What's important is using that fuel and that fire to command an army beneath him. We know Tom Riddle is a charismatic guy. He's very intelligent. The backstories and the flashbacks throughout this book give a little more credence to that. And we know he's one of the most powerful wizards to ever exist. Even if he is a dark wizard, that doesn't take anything away from that. But his number one goal here is control. And he's intelligent enough to see, here's a whole posse of people that believe in one thing. How do I mobilize them? How do I radicalize them? I bring them under my wing and say, pure bloods are the way to go. And he pulls them in and uses him for his own gain. Because I don't think he cares about anyone or anything other than himself. What's the fastest path to immortality and strongest person on earth and everything that comes with it? It's to get the most easily accessible force to back you. I think he would have had a really hard time doing it with the Ministry. He clearly didn't have any of the Hogwarts professors on his side. Dumbledore was not on his side. You know, you can see that from the scene where he's asking to be a professor. There's just clearly all of these little things where he's kind of poking and prodding to see who he can get to back him, and this was the most easily accessible group to do that with. Harry using Sectum Sempra is more than just using a powerful spell. It's about rushing to the finale. It's about taking shortcuts and how they're dangerous. The long way may not be the easiest path. It may be a little more challenging, maybe more grueling, but you learn along the way. If you've seen my Alchemist review, I think that dials really into this concept, but within the world of Harry Potter, it's a short one-book lesson of, hey, don't take shortcuts because there will be consequences. Picking out a spell from the margins of a textbook you found in an old dusty closet might not be a great result for you if you just rush in and use it. But it was very well built up because he had built this confidence with the Half-Blood Prince, doing so well in potions class, and then just takes it too far. The cave may be one of the best written moments in Harry Potter, especially as it pertains to being a fantasy novel. Tom Riddle's ability to control from afar the entire magical takeover of this cave and what's within it, and still set up all these booby traps of varying degrees of difficulty, of varying degrees of emotional difficulty, and it's just so well done. She mixes these great markers of riddle solving and puzzle building. You have the blood toll at the beginning, right? And then you have kind of the monster of it all, right? The Inferi in the lake. That's seen as like the immediate threat, but those are just child's play because the real thing is the potion. Dumbledore having to drink every last drop, the trauma, the psychological pain, Harry having to be there to witness it. Not that he very much gets involved or is able to do anything. He's probably scared out of his mind. He doesn't actually have the power to change what's going on, and he knows Dumbledore has to keep going, has to keep drinking to the bottom. It also puts Dumbledore on an even higher pedestal because we know he's one of the most powerful wizards there are. You know he's the headmaster. You know he has great relationships with the other wizards in the school and the students, but now you see he has the mental fortitude to take on this mental trauma. He is so very flawed as a character. He truly is. He did not handle much of this past 6 years well at all. I think he's made mistakes, he's had triumphs, but he is doing what he thinks is right. And again, it comes back to that. A lot of characters always think they're doing the right thing, whether they're the good guy or the bad guy. When it comes to his final moments with Malfoy, it's another testament to the man because he does not give in. He still tries to help him see reason all the way to the last moment. And his final moments with Snape too. I mean, this is truly a heartbreaking death. With losing Dumbledore though, now you think, well, what is the situation with Snape? I think Snape's been so long at this double agent game that he doesn't even know who he is. He might have lost his own identity and where his standing is. And it's gonna be tremendous to see where that goes into the final book. Let's get to the ugly. I know it's been splashed and sprinkled, but it's oddly convenient for the storytelling that at the age of 17, he's no longer gonna have the protection of his mother's love. Also, the Half-Blood Prince book, it's super awesome. It's so cool that one of your old teachers has his notes in the books. But come on, Harry is the one who gets it? What are the odds of this? It just feels like these things are always conveniently falling on Harry's lap at his doorstep. He always is the one, the center of attention, and that's okay. He's the main character, and you want him to be kind of the most exciting, which you really struggled with early in the series because he was not. But if you just took a little extra effort to paint a really fun and exciting picture of how specifically that book got into Harry's hands, maybe his father stole it from Snape and left it in the Gringotts cell so that Harry had all his textbooks when he was rather, like, I don't know. It could have been anything. Just when you get to these moments, I just wish there was a little more execution on how the things happened the way they did. In my Harry Potter Christmas video, I did touch on a little bit of this, which it was a pretty vile and horrible Christmas for Harry, and in a different way. Looking at it in more detail now, I think it's kind of crazy how mistreated Fleur is in this entire story. Is it because she's part Vila? Does it have to do with her accent? Is there some sort of like British French thing I'm not understanding as an American? Did she do something in the stories that maybe I missed that puts her on edge with the characters at the Burrow? She's actually pretty great. She was grateful to Harry back during the Triwizard Cup, and even now, at the end of this story, it ends up she's like literally not a bad person. She doesn't judge people by their looks, but who they are on the inside. You can see that from her relationship that's budding. The mistreatment of Fleur, man. Justice for Fleur. Let's get into Voldemort cursing the Defense Against the Dark Arts teachers. So we know that nobody ever stayed a whole year after this cursing happened. Was Dumbledore not able to reverse this curse? Did he know it was happening? Also, if it was Voldemort's plan to use this kind of repeating wheel of teachers to use as implanting let's say a Voldemort spy, it didn't work every time. You have instances of professors like Quirrell, but then you also have professors like Lupin. So is Dumbledore aware of this and they're kind of playing chess with each other? That would be cool. Or was Voldemort trying to make sure that the kids never had a good education when it came to Defense Against the Dark Arts? If you're either putting in to the positions, you know, these incompetent professors, which we've seen in the past, or that they just have no continuation in structure. I've been pretty easy on the Room of Requirement. I will mostly continue to do so because it is a good tool. But what are the logistics here? Because can two people be in the room at the same time? Like, is it occupied by one person and then nobody else can go in? Or, you know, if I had the need, does it appear to me? And then if you had the need and I was already in there, does another door open to a different part of the room? Also, where I'm most irritated about it, and especially with Harry coming on to Draco, why not just throw on the invisibility cloak and sit outside the room and wait? Like, eventually he's gonna come out. Look, I'm not gonna say I don't think there's a time and a place for romance. There is. But the romance in this book, the snogging, is terrible. I don't read romance. A lot of you probably do, and a lot of you probably enjoyed this. So I'm gonna come up on the wrong side of that, and that's fine with me. But I could have just left it at the door. Is Dumbledore just using Harry? You like to think they're on the same page, but again, who set up that page? Dumbledore and the professors and the side of the Order of the Phoenix, they're the ones influencing him to have the belief system that he does. Remember, he came from pretty much nothing, an oppressed household. He doesn't have these opinions formed for himself. He's very malleable as a young kid. I'm not saying we throw Dumbledore to the wolves. I'm just saying it could be questioned. Was he just using Harry as a tool to get to the end, to take Voldemort down? Food for thought. I would love to hear your opinion. But those are just my thoughts. Let's hear from the community. Pour one out for Dumbledore. I hear you, Whitney. That was tough. I can't imagine having gone through this as a little kid. Again, I read these books in my 30s, but the emotion's not lost on me. The impact must have been tremendous, and I think it takes a good author to accomplish that. Tucker nailed it. Alternate title is absolutely hilarious. Voldemort, A History, coming soon on Netflix. And hey, I'd watch that Netflix docuseries. I would. Lauren. That's good. I'm sure it's not something you thought you wanted to see in this book. Maybe I should have thrown that into the ugly section. Marcus, this is just, it's the comment, page 56. And now, Harry, let us step out into the night and pursue that flighty temptress. Adventure. Okay, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, we're gonna go with a 6.79. This book was tremendous. We were at the crux of disaster with Order of the Phoenix, and I'm not taking a shot at that book. It had a lot of good moments, as I talked about in my last video, but I do have to say, this one takes the cake. It really brought us up to this really, really big culminating moment we know is gonna come soon. It had tragedy, it had backstory, it had world building, it had spell casting, it had battles, it had almost everything you would ever want out of this series, and it had puzzle solving, and it had drama, and it had some bad parts too. I mean, we talked about that, but overall, we're stepping in the right direction. It was a really enjoyable read. I think some people disagree on that, but maybe it's the type of reader that I am. And to me, 6.79 is right on cue. But how about you? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you have any feelings about it that I didn't touch on? Or did I touch on something and I got blatantly wrong? Hash it out with me in the comments. I love to hear more. I love other perspectives, and I'm having a blast with doing that with you guys. That's why I'm here, reading in this community, interacting with fellow readers, and being able to talk about our thoughts about these stories. So if you enjoyed the review and you had a good time, or if you didn't enjoy the review but you're here just to make sure you're fact checking me along the way, drop a like, subscribe, comment. I will be back. I got one more Harry Potter book to go, and you all know how this story ends, and I can't wait to talk about it with everybody. So remember, folks, a chapter a day keeps the brain rot away. I will see you soon.